Do you need to refinish your stairs without stepping on your budget? Today I'm going to walk you through 5 different stair finishing techniques. I'm breaking down the cost, difficulty level, and the traction of each choice, so you'll know exactly which style is right for you. Each of these options are DIY friendly, which is good. It just comes down to your personal preference. Keep in mind that the prices are going to change over time and are different in different markets and stores, so it's more important to understand the relationship between the costs of each of these different processes. Let's get started. Number 1 is actually tile, which is a great option for basements, but it does require some specialty tools. And this is gonna run you around $50 a step. The system with tile, and you might have seen it, a lot of folks who live in the South, you see tile everywhere. And the line of sight is your issue. As long as your grout lines are laser level up and down the stairs, you're fine. For me, the secret is a longer tile than your step, so you don't have any of those short vertical lines. The challenge is finding a tile that's the same size as your stair. The longer the tile, the thinner it usually is. Just the nature of tile. We're going to take a tile that has some texture to it. We're going to be installing it with this fancy nosing here, and that goes down over the whole nosing, and then there's a grout line and then tile. And what that does is that gives you great traction on the stairs. It's also durable, easy to clean, all those kind of wonderful things. We have 1.25 inches of overhang, and we have 2 options. We can take the skill saw, we can cut the nosing off of every single step, or we can take some cheap filler and we can build the riser out so that it is flush with the nosing, then we're ready to install. I'm going to choose B. I find it's a whole lot quicker to add a couple of pieces of filler to create that backing. Remember, this is stairs, okay? This is not artwork, and we don't have to be perfect with our measurements. We just need to provide about 90% of that area so that the thin set has something to bond to. I'm using a combination of a particle board riser. This is purchased at the local building store. I'll cut it to spec, and 1/2 inch plywood ripped on the saw at the local building store as well. And we're going to use that together to make our 1.25 inches that we need. Let's get busy. All right, guys, so we're using PL Premium Construction Adhesive. Just a note, you're working inside if you're working on stairs. That can be dangerous, all right? PL Premium, if you don't wipe it up with mineral spirits, if you have an accident, within the first 5 minutes, it's there for life. If you're concerned about getting this on your finished flooring or on your shoes and walking through your house and leaving a tidy little mess that'll devalue your home tens of thousands of dollars, use PL 400. That one, at least, if you see a mess, you can wipe it up probably within 30 minutes to an hour. This stuff is unforgiving and yet effective. And because we're doing tile work, essential. Now we'll do the same with the plywood. Now, that ain't going anywhere. For best results, I'm putting thin set on softwood lumber. Just give it a light scuff with a 60 grit. That'll do that. Before we mix any thin set, we want an actual measurement of the stair. It's almost 32, so we're going to call it 31 15/16, whatever that is in millimeters. I have no idea. Now this is all made of aluminum, so that means we can cut this on a regular chop saw. I'm going to go outside and show you the right way to do that. Okay, there's a lot of flopping around and the triangles make it tricky, so we're going to line this up, bring the teeth down to it. I'm going to make sure that the side of that tooth is hitting right on my pencil. Now, we don't want to come straight down on it. We're going to bring the blade this way and then slowly drive through the back end. Perfect every time. We've prepped the riser, we've prepped the step. Here's our nosing. Oh, that is snug as a bug in a rug. Now we're ready to mix thin set. That's obviously a lot more than I need, but I come from the construction world as a professional tiler, and I have no idea what enough cement for one step looks like. We let that sit for 10 minutes, give it another quick whip, and it's time to install the tile. All right, so I'm done my dry fit here, and here are the components. We have the nosing, the riser, which is cut short, and that is absolutely fine. We have 2 pieces just to fill the backspace. In this kind of stair application, we're going to start with the riser. So I've got plywood here to represent the thickness of this tile, lifting it up off the ground. The process here is going to be apply the thin set to the back of the stone liberally, because the nosing is going to create just a bit of an issue for us. Now the goal here is to set the tile square. Gentle pressure, just to make sure we got good contact. We're going to clean as we go. We're also going to dampen the stair tread. It's kind of like when you're doing stain work. Adding a little bit of moisture opens up the grain and it gets you a better bond, because now you've got a textured surface. Check for corners. Everything has to be very consistent. We're setting that in the thin set here. Now we're going to take our tile. We are going to back butter it. Part of this is to make sure we have 100% adhesion. Part of this is just to finish the building up process. I'm using a 1/4 by 3/8 by 1/4 trowel. I am looking to get this a little bit raised. We're going to put this down here and not press onto it. We're going to leave room for a grout line here, and that should be pretty flush with the nosing. These wedges come in a certain thickness. All right, so we're just going to set that as a grout line, pull this towards us. This is just a little piece. Same rule applies. You need extra thin set on it. When you want to do this without making a huge mess, you want to install it tile to tile, no grout line. And then we're going to use the tabs to push it back, create the gap that we're looking for. There we are. Now, after this is set up, tomorrow we'll come back, we'll grout it, and show you the last step. When you have a dark tile, go with a dark grout. Find something the same color or even darker. All right, strong like bull, shall we? Oh yeah. We'll start with the back first. Quick grouting lesson. We're using the edge. We're going a 45-degree angle on the float, and when we go in to fill a corner, we also travel through that corner on a 45-degree angle. If we only go one direction, you can fill up the top 1/16 of an inch only. So even if it looks filled, you just keep on pressing it in and you force it down one little bit at a time. I'm just going to wipe off the extra. Set a wet sponge. Put your hand on it. Don't push. Put enough pressure you can slide it, and then remove it. Put it back and do it again. Now your sponge is dirty. You have to wash it. Okay. There we go. I'm happy with that. Option number 2 is not carpeting your stair. It's actually ripping your carpet off and revealing the beautiful staircase that's hiding in behind it and getting a refinishing job. Okay? It takes the most amount of time, right? We have a lot of standing, a lot of prep, but it's only $20 in materials for the entire step, which is a great budget option. We don't know the condition of the stairs. Are there holes? Are there knots? Are there cracks and splits? But in most cases, you're gonna find that they're in a reasonable enough shape that you can refinish. Now that we got all the garbage out of here, we're looking at pulling staples. Try not to damage your stair too much while pulling them out. Every time you make a new dent, because it's softwood, you have to sand that dent out. So being patient here will pay off. We're gonna keep it to $20 because we're gonna put all the blood, sweat, and tears into removing the staples. Once we get past the staples though, the hard work is over. Then it's just about being meticulous and having some integrity. There we go. I'm spending about 20 minutes prepping one stair. And that is not unrealistic for you to understand that that might be you. So consider the time and energy and labor involved in this. All right, so here's our issues. One, I've got a hole in the back of the step. I've got gaps here, I've got cracks, I've got nail holes. I've got gaps in the existing staircase. I've also got paint all over the place. So this is gonna be normal, all right? So we're gonna have to go and deal with all of these different issues. Here's the rig. What we're gonna use is just a 5-inch orbital sander, and you're not wrong. That won't get the whole project taken care of, but it'll do the 99%, and that's what we're looking for here. We'll come back and I'll show you how to solve the problem with the other 5%. 1%, 99 plus 1 is 100. Now I'm working with softwood lumber, and you can see that it works up really quick. I'm using an 80 grit. Okay, you can go to 60 if you need to, but be careful. With 60, you're going to just reshape the whole stair. Introducing a paint scraper. This is a exchangeable and reversible blade, and they can be sharpened over and over and over again. Comes pre-sharpened from the store, and the idea here is it's a pull scraper. You don't want to be pulling against the grain. What we're doing is getting rid of most of the paint content. If you need to, grab yourself a 60 grit sanding block, okay, and become the sanding machine. Don't worry about the stringer, okay? At this point, we have to make sure that there is no remnant of paint because it will come through. You can't stain paint. Now you can understand why this is a $20 option. Okay, next step is we're going to use wood filler. They come in little squeeze tubes. So if you have just a little bit of damage and you want to buy just a little bit of wood filler, here's what it looks like. It's kind of like toothpaste, but not really. We're just going to put it on with a 4-inch knife and then spread it in nice and tight. I am going to be filling to get that nice 90-degree corner. Anything that looks suspicious, little pinholes. Okay, get it on your thumb. Look for those staples. We'll leave the rest of that and we'll sand it off when it's dry. All right guys, next day, our wood filler is definitely hard and dry and everything is good to go. We're just gonna take out a sanding sponge here. This is a little 60 grit. And we're just gonna take off all of the major ridges here and square off all of our corners in the same manner that we have 80, 120, and 180 grit. We're gonna just take our time going through it with the power sander. So I currently have a 180 on there. Sorry, I currently have an 80 on there. 180. Let's start with the finest number we can, Jeff. That's great. That is a really coarse surface. If you stain at this point, you're going to have a really coarse finish. You're going to need 3 coats. And that's fine if you want traction. Right? Stairs can be dangerous. So the better you sand this, the smoother it is, the slipperier it's going to be when you're finished. Okay? So we're going to take our tack cloth now. Vacuum does most of it, but there's always a little something left behind, eh? Time for stain. It's water-based, which means I can shake it. This is a stain and poly-in-one. It feels really wet. You can go 1 coat if you want a light cover. 2 coats will get you a darker cover. And if you want even more protection, which is not a bad idea on softwood, then you just use a clear polyurethane to finish. It dries in about an hour. The advantage being, if you have 1 flight of stairs in your house, you can do the job and still go use your bedroom at night. Because it's water-based, when we paint, we can paint to cover it. So you don't have to be perfect when it comes to painting on this coat. This stuff is a little bit wet, so we're going to set it in the corner and then just drag it out. This is all about getting a smooth application. I'm gonna get right underneath here. More is better in this scenario. There we go. Okay guys, it's been about an hour. Now that we got the first coat, we're just gonna go for coverage. You know, when we're in painting, we use the phrase less is more. But when you're dragging a stain like this, more is more. Makes a pretty decent stair. Okay, woohoo, we're getting close. We are gonna paint the riser now. I'm trying out the cabinet and trim enamel paint from the Bear. Comes white, still white. Because we're on a vertical surface and we have to apply with a brush, we're going to cheat. Use a little cabinet trim paint technique. We're gonna pour all that in there. Okay. If you consider my fingers each a streaky line of paint, it melts it all and makes it one smooth surface. So the paint will be attracted to itself even if there's a gap. It's like a self-leveler on a vertical surface. Ooh, that's pretty. All right. We're gonna take our brush and we're going to paint this surface the same way we do if we're painting a wall in a house, like a bedroom. We are pushing our luck just a little bit on the drying time. And I gotta make sure, because this is wood, it's not gonna paint really nice. Like it's really rough surface, right? So I'm intentionally coming a little bit shy. This is gonna require 2 coats, okay? Now there's no need to tape here. We have a definite edge. Right now, because that wood is so rough, it like grabs every bristle and it's fighting along the way. This is like heart surgery painting. I'm just taking my sweet time here, you know? All right, I'm gonna go wash my brush. Time to get to the next step. Option number 3 is a cap, and it is a particle board core with a hardwood veneer. This is great if you already have a strong stair and you just want to get a new look. Runs about $70 a stair. So the first step with the veneered tread cap is actually give it a quick light sanding. It feels really smooth coming from the store, okay? But it's not ready to receive stain yet. So what I'm gonna suggest, grab a 180, give it a quick shot, then a tack cloth. All right, now listen, these are really sticky, okay? This isn't just a paper towel, all right? Get the actual tack cloth. Talking about hardwood versus softwood, we're talking about that slippery factor, okay? So here's a microfiber towel. Still lots of dragging, pulling, still snags. That's a good thing. Don't sand until it's so smooth that you put one foot on it and you're gonna wipe it and go all the way down and break your neck. Next step, we wanna raise the grain just a touch because this is a hardwood. We're gonna get rid of any excess water. That'll leave this step damp, not wet. And just like the first step, we're going to just place it and drag it. And you noticed on the softwood stair that it actually covered it more like a paint after 2 coats. And if that's the look you're after, that's fine. But if you want to be able to see the grain when you're all finished, look what happens if you just give it a quick wipe. Now, we're going to let that dry, and we'll come back and give that a second coat so that we can enrich the color. Now, it's time for the second coat on our stair cap. Just make sure that whatever process you use on whatever step, you follow that exact same process on every step. I'm going to wipe this off right away again. We're getting a much richer step here this time around. Time to cut the nosing. Nice and simple, just measure the underside, 1 1/4. And then we'll just mark this. If I overcut a little bit, I'm gonna be okay because we will be putting risers as we go along. If I undercut, then I've gotta go through the extra work of sanding it back or trimming it back or cutting it twice. So my goal is to mark exactly the depth, plunge the blade right on that pencil line. Now, if I cut in front, the jigsaw will plunge all the way through. Oh yeah, I'm right there, beautiful. All right, that's much better. Switch over to the third tool. And this is what we were talking about. There are different options and barriers to entry to doing a project like this, like owning 3 tools, okay? So if you don't have a jigsaw and you only have this, that's fine, you'll get the job done. It's just gonna go through a few more blades to get there. There we go. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna install a riser. We're gonna get a measurement. This is 6 1/2. This is 6 1/2. We're going to rip this through the saw at 6 3/8 because I hate being a little bit too high. Eyeball it, measure it, and then take off a little bit more. Two points. Okay, that's what looks like a stair riser. Now, the way we install it is really simple. It's 2 parts. We need an adhesive and we need a mechanical fastener. We're going to use a little bit of PL Premium across the bottom and across the top. Now, I'm going to recommend a crown stapler. It's just the best tool for the job here for finishing. Okay, now we're going to lift this up in place. Now, when this dries, Any weight that's put on top of this will then be transferred into that adhesive strip and this adhesive strip, okay? It's that simple. Now the other thing we want to do is grab your square and make sure that this glue is pressed in until it's square as well. Throw a staple in. All right, now, so here's my Stair tread tool. The idea behind this, okay, is get this all nice and straight. You get this in here nice and tight. You push these two, and then you clamp it down by turning these dials into the little rubber gaskets that come with it. Creates a perfect template that you can transfer to your Stair tread or your cap, in this case. We're gonna lift, slide, and translate. All products that come have a little bit of tear out, okay? And one of the ways we deal with the tear out is by cutting slowly, having a sliding saw, and putting a brand new 60-tooth blade on. So, if this is perfectly square, which it almost is, oh, it's close. I could just run this out and cut it, but since it isn't, I'm gonna need the help of a visual aid. It's the one time that I'll use painter's tape and I'm not even painting. Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna line it up, flush off the end here, flush off the end over here. We're gonna tape it in place. We're gonna just check our saw up against the line. So when I get to the very end, I'm touching the line, and up here I'm not. I'm good with this one. And on the other side, I'll show you a different technique. This tool also comes with an inside corner angle finder. You can use this to set up your saw. Put that against the back wall, open this up over here, and there, that's my angle. Now I can take this out to the saw and set up the blade perfectly. I'm in the 0 position. This is 1 degree. That looks pretty spectacular. Lock it in. Here, let's get the tape off this bad boy. See how we did for tearaway. Oh, nice. Now one more number, because we need to measure from this nosing, which makes contact with the white surface right here, back to the riser. And we are looking at 8 3/8, 8 1/4, 8 1/4. When you're working with a table saw, the blade cuts from on top coming at you. So we want to be able to cut the surface up to get rid of the tear out. So here's the trick. Our nosing is actually just a little bit more than about 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is a scrap piece of plywood and put it in with this, and then I can slide them together. Make sure that I'm cutting square. I almost made a pivotal mistake. I measured from where the nosing made contact to the back of the riser, but my guard is including the nosing. So I need to know the thickness of the actual riser itself and add that to my measurement. So I'm going to add 1 1/16 inches. Now we got this, we got this, we got this. We are now finally good to go. When it's that perfect, it's going to be snug. Wow. Now that is a very efficient cutting machine, that one right there. Okay, so now what we have to do is talk about how we're attaching this. The answer is carefully and only once. All right. Because this is a cap, it's not designed for deflection, so we want to give it lots of support. Check with your step, make sure you're relatively flat, okay? Because we're going to use adhesive here. We're going to put it across the end and like every 4 to 6 inches so that the thinness of this step is not affected. That way when you walk on this, it'll feel nice and secure. Boy, oh boy, is it ever nice and tight. And then we'll drop it in. The adhesive will do the job long term, but short term, you want to get this nice and snug. Fire in 1 and 2 on each side. Now, the way that we finish that is you grab yourself one of these little wax pencils here. We're not looking for something darker, we're looking for something lighter, okay? And all we do is just rub it in there. You're looking for friction, you're looking for contacts to go contrary to the way the nail hole is. You'll see the nail hole is kind of flat. Make a mess of it. There you go, mission accomplished. Now we're gonna just take our microfiber rag here. We're gonna buff it out, okay, with the grain. Just create friction, it heats up and it melts in. All right. Option number 4 is a hardwood tread and riser combination. This is real wood and it's best to create that strength for people with weak, creaky stairs. And this option runs about $100 a stair. Very similar process here. We're just gonna measure off and confirm. You build everything the same, use the same materials, and there's gonna be minor variances for so many reasons. Let's get to cutting. Got to make sure that we are starting with something that is smooth and perfect. We'll hit this with a tack cloth. We're going to mist it, open up the pores. And we are going to paint this on. And then just for fun, we'll show you what happens if you leave the product on for a few minutes before you wipe it clean, if it makes any difference to the finished color. I'm going to transfer this now. Use exactly the same process if you're doing the same material. So we'll wet it, we'll wipe it. We're going to be liberal this time, of course, and then let that stain sit there. I'm going to give it about 15 minutes before I give it a wipe. Set the watch. If you look down here, you can see that it looks like it's starting to dry up a little bit. Get that sheen. All right, so right here it's kind of soaked it up, but over here it looks like there's additional material. And part of this, guys, is literally just getting used to the product. I have not worked with this bare product before. So I want to leave a little bit of color on here, a little bit of depth of field. I don't want to dry it out too much, but I don't want to let it get out of control either, right? I'm trying to make this into a dark stain instead of something painted. There we go. Yeah, this is the danger, right? What I'm learning here is less is more. If you're going to wipe it off right away. If you let it sit for a little bit, it just kind of makes a mess. You can see where I just kind of peeled it off the corner here. Not happy. This time I'm going to apply it and go for even coverage. And by doing all the stain work before we're stuck in the stairwell installed, gives you a lot more control because you can brush right off the end. If you wait till you're in the stairs, it's like that first step. You got to brush from both sides, you're lifting off all over the place. Your stain doesn't get applied evenly. The riser is exactly 6.5. Exactly 6.5. So let's run that through the table saw and then we can worry about cutting it down. Okay, there we go. Get right in there. It's really hard to know exactly what that number is supposed to be, right? So here's a little trick for you DIYers. Measure to a whole number, 20 inches. And then measure back, 11 7/8. Perfect, plus 20. Because trying to get an exact number, reading it like this, never works. You still got it, Joe. All right. Beautiful. Just gonna get a little bit here. Dab it and wipe it. Just a couple little spots of tear out there. Okay. There we go. Okay. 1 1/8 plus the back to the front of the riser 8 1/4. A little bit more than 8 1/4 in the middle, but that's sunk in. 8 1/4. We're gonna go 8 1/4. One run for the nosing. Just for protection against tear out. All right, let's roll. Sorry about that, Joe. I'm gonna put enough material here that I keep the back of this square. 1, 2, and we're gonna go 3 boards. We'll pack it up, so we're cutting square. Everything looks intact. We're gonna prep the ends. We'll get our measuring tool out, loosen the nuts, slide that all into position, and start locking it in. Now, because this particular stair is structural, because it's a tread, right? We don't have to be as concerned about holier than nothing. All right, it's got a lot of meat. Now, watch this. This area here, this is going to go right here, okay? Because there's so much material. This is where the vertical attachment is. This is a transfer load point for the nose, and the polyurethane adhesive is the perfect solution to that. So here we go. Lift it up nice and tight at the front. Let it fall into the back. Get a darker marker this time, and we're gonna pick the red brown instead of the gray brown. Just rub it and overfill it. There we go. Now we're going to show you how to install the newest, most popular product that everybody's installing wrong. Let me show you how to do it right. It's one piece, it's the easiest install, and it will run you about $120 a step. We aren't going to have pieces of flooring integrated with the nosing that's making a tripping hazard. Instead, we're going to be cutting a one-piece install for this step. Same thing, we start with cutting back the nosing. Now, of course, the most important part of this cut, it's not about your perfection. It's about the fact that the riser needs to be flush or proud of the stair, just a hair. All right, so as long as we get that, we're good. Every other inconsistency here can be corrected with the PL Premium. So now, we're gonna cut a riser. I'm gonna use plywood. Now, I'm just grabbing some contractor shims here, guys. The most important part of this job is structure. When I put the stair here, the nosing comes over, people are gonna step on that nosing, and you can see the deflection, the lift that happens, okay? So what we wanna do is create something here that's perfectly square and really, really solid. So I'm using the square to get my shims stuffed in here so that I can actually attach this with a staple, or even two. Just press this down, level. Perfect. You're not always gonna cut everything perfect every time, so you gotta know how to fix your mistakes. And then I'm gonna cover it with an HDF one-side white, pre-made from the store. Because this product that we're buying doesn't come with risers in the kit. You have to make your own. Now, because this has gotta be structural, we are gonna be a little more aggressive with this PL on this one. We're going up against a smooth surface, so we just want to make sure we have a lot of this. Let's take a look at our vinyl tread. As you can see, the product itself is quite thin. And this joint here is really thin, and that's the weak spot. And anybody knows when you're climbing stairs, this takes a lot of abuse, okay? If you go into an old house, the nosing on all the stairs is worn away, all right? That's where the traffic is. That's where people's weight is going. So we got to do a couple of special things to make sure that this isn't going to start to wear and break and crack and give out over time so you don't have an accident. Because when you build stairs, you want them to last 50 years. Let's get our tread tool. Bada-boom. So we're going to measure from the riser to the front of this riser. And I've got 8 inches. Got 8 inches, and I got 8 inches proud, just a hair. The bottom of that nosing needs to make contact with this, and I got to close the gap at the back. What I'm going to do is just mark on my board where the nosing meets, okay? I can then measure 3 1/8. That's how much I'm going to take off for this side. I'm pretty sure this is still 90. Yep, we'll get the other corner here to set the saw blade, and we'll just push that in. There's our outside corner. So this is there, that's square, off to the saw. Setting up a dust collection system when working with this product is kind of not a bad idea, or at least be outside. What an absolute mess that makes, eh? Now, we have a product that fits the hole. Yay, congratulations. Now, we need 1.5 inches in the middle, because when you walk on them, most of the weight travels to the stringer, and then that carries the load to the ground. The riser, in almost every situation, is nailed or screwed to the back of the step to provide additional support so it doesn't deflect. We've built out the riser in front with a 1/2 inch plywood and then a finish layer. That's all been glued, construction adhesive, and stapled, so the stair is structurally sound. This product, however, looks good, but is incredibly smooth. We have to get out our palm sander and we got to scuff this up. We want to go with something like 50 or 60 grit sandpaper. On a microscopic level, smooth surfaces and adhesives don't work really well. And so we don't want to do is have a situation where we don't get a good bond, okay? Okay guys, here's the drag test with the microfiber cloth. And you'll see the cloth has resistance. It's tugging. And when I get off of that, it's just, there's nothing there, all right? Okay, let's get the rest of this done. All right, one more step before we go to adhesive. Want you to remember, your stair treads aren't going to be brand new lumber like mine are and ready to go. And even new lumber has been gone through the planer and it has a slippery, slick surface, okay? So you want to scratch it up as well. Just a little bit, that's all it takes. Now, in the world of adhesives, we have a bunch of different varieties. They all have a different purpose, different function. They'll have claims on the packaging, what they're good for, what they're not good for. And that's lovely and wonderful, but what you need to know is doing stairs is traditionally considered a commercial enterprise. It's something that contractors do. So as a DIYer, if you go to the local hardware store, you may or may not find the right product. This is not the right product. What this is a VCT tile glue. It's an adhesive that is designed for commercial tile, the old vinyl tile, like the 12 by 12 black and white peel, like stick down. And the way that this works is contractor will go in and they'll spread this adhesive over like 1,000 square feet. And you have, I'd say about an hour or two before it's finished curing and setting up, okay? What it does is it goes translucent and it gets very tacky. This keeps things from sliding and slipping and lifting. Okay, now remember our stair, gravity does all the work, okay? But what we don't want is the stair to slide off over time. And so this is going to do a great job of holding it in place and most likely won't slide off at all. But the one thing that everybody misses is that the nosing, this part here, is where all the deflection is. So when people are stepping on this invisible nosing, we need to have something right here to bond the nose to the riser. We want to get just enough on here. There we go. Now I've seen guys use PL Premium on the staircase, and I've seen guys, they'll go like, do strips. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I don't like the strips is because you're putting something thin on the floor, and if you have a strip and then a strip, and you step in the middle, the board itself is going to deflect between the adhesives. And deflection between adhesives causes the adhesive to give out, especially on a smooth surface. So you want to do is you want to have one thickness that you're working with. What we're going to want to do here is like back buttering. I'm going to get a little bit of the adhesive on here as well. We're gonna watch this set up now. It's gonna go from yellow to clear. And when it goes clear, then it's time to install. All right guys, come take a look at this. Now, this is the glue. This stuff at the very front here is put on a little thicker, so it hasn't quite dried out yet. But check out this, the tackiness of this, okay? It's just waiting for something to bond to. Now, I am going to do something a little wild here. I'm gonna install some tape, just 1/32 of an inch wider than the nosing. Fold it over and expose half of that edge and get it covered in PL Premium. Just a thin bead here, okay? I'm not looking to do anything extraordinary. That should make sure we get a nice clean glue line. Remember, the goal here is to be able to not slide it in and get the glue everywhere off the nosing. We wanna start back here, get that close, set it down, and then push that adhesive on the nosing into the riser. There we go. The last step, because it's a pressure sensitive glue, you're gonna take your handy dandy roller, you're gonna put your weight on this bad boy. Okay. There we go. Now we're set into that adhesive, and that ain't going nowhere. All right guys, now it's time for our finishing touches. As you can see, we've got some staple marks in here. The next thing we're gonna do is the rest of our first coat on our risers. We also have little spots here where we cut off the nosing. We've got a water-based adhesive that can be covered in paint. You cock the tape, now the paint can't bleed underneath. So we are actually gonna let that caulking set up. I'll throw a Post-it note right in here. And that'll just protect that wood from the caulking. All right, our caulking is dry. That is great. Let's just jump into this. Not bad. Well, there you have it, folks. That's 5 ways to refinish your stairs. Now let's recap it real quick. If you're considering going with tile, this runs you around $50 a step. And you've got all kinds of options for the different texture, and the stair nosing gives you something to grab onto. This makes it the least slipperiest of the bunch. This is like a 4 out of 5. So if you're gonna sand and stain your stair, it's gonna cost you about 20 bucks, but it is very labor intensive. And in order to get a uniform finish, it required 3 coats of stain, which results in a very, very slippery surface. 0 resistance. I'm gonna rate that about a 1 out of 5 when it comes to safety. If you wanna go with an economical hardwood finish, this veneered tread cap runs around $70, and because of the light stain work and the raised grain, it offers a pretty decent resistance. We'll score that about a 3 out of 5. And if you wanna go with solid hardwood, this is gonna cost you about $100 a step. And as far as traction is concerned, it has a very similar feel to the veneer cap. I'd call this a 3 out of 5. And if you're looking to go with a vinyl stair, this tread cap costs about $120 a step for installation and is definitely going to outlast anything that's got a natural finish. And as far as traction is concerned, the tread comes with embossing on it, so it feels like natural grain, but it doesn't have exactly the same amount of resistance as oak. This one, 2 out of 5. Now with all that information, you can pick the best option for your budget and skill level. But for me and my forever home, I'm going with the vinyl. There's no maintenance, I can match it to my existing floors, and I know I can get 50 years out of it. You want to see the full install on my actual 1974 staircase? Subscribe.